Han looked towards Celestia and Hyun, who he had different relationships with. Celestia's face was full of awe and wonder at seeing the beginning of the overflow and finding out where it originated from, while Hyun looked at it in horror. "Are you okay?" Han asked Hyun, who was covering her mouth with her hands as if to contain the scream which was bubbling out. She jumped at hearing his voice, and seeing that it was him, her body relaxed. Tears began forming in her eyes, and she rushed into Han's chest, burying her face and sobbing. He didn't know how to respond to the situation and looked around in confusion. All those innocent people being eaten and slaughtered by those creatures. Hyun choked out. My parents and all my siblings. She screamed into his chest, letting out all of her sorrow. Hearing her words, Han understood what the overflow meant to her. Seeing where such a horrible event occurred must have brought up painful memories. He looked back to the memory of when he watched his parents being buried. Though he never had a strong connection towards them and didn't show the same pain and suffering Hyun was showing, Han still felt like the world had dimmed a little bit than when they were alive. He would never be able to casually call them up and talk to them or enjoy the moments when they would offer to take him someplace so they could all enjoy each other's company. It may sound cold the way he viewed his relationship with his parents, but it wasn't something he could help. Gently wrapping his arms around her, he tried to comfort her as he watched the mass, off in the distance, release another bubble that floated into the sky. Looking towards Brittany and Celestia, he quietly said, "We are going to need to explore the area more. With people distracted with the overflow happening, it will be a good opportunity to rummage around. I have a feeling that there is more there than what we first saw." Both of them nodded their heads as they went over to the others to fill them in on his plans. When Hyun's emotions seemed to settle down, he gently pushed her away and lifted up her face. Staring into her eyes, he said, "I have something you may be interested in. While everyone else is occupied with this, I think it may be a good idea to look at it." Confusion passed over her face as she tried to understand what Han was telling her. "Okay," was all she could say before being led away by him. With Hyun in tow, he headed towards the hidden door, which was still open. During the confusion, no one had noticed it. Going down the stairs again and reaching the door, Han saw that his creations and Celestia were waiting for him. They were slightly surprised at seeing Hyun, but disregarded it as none of their business. Using the same method, Han entered into the secret room. Now that he understood what this place was all about, it seemed to make more sense. The reason for the Vaj being placed on the tables were to understand how to combat them. The ones before may have been weakened, but they probably could handle several hundred of the creatures with little problem. "What is this place?" Hyun asked Han as she walked into the room. Turning towards her, he answered, "This is where a member of an ancient race, known as the ones before, created the mechanism called the overflow. These monsters, the same one we have seen before, are known as the Vaj, and appeared on this place ages ago." "Wait, you are telling me that someone created the overflow?" Hyun shook her head, trying to make the news disappear. "Someone made this thing that not only killed my family, but also millions of people?" Her voice trembled from the fury she was trying to contain. Han placed a hand on her shoulder, but she brushed it off. "No! I had to watch as the monster got over the wall and snuck into our house, and ended up eating my mother as she was tucking me into bed." Her eyes dulled as she remembered the event. "I still remember all the blood that covered my face. It was so warm and sticky. My father and brothers heard the noise and came to see the monster gnawing on my mother. Her bones were crunching between those horrid jaws. A single tear went down the side of her face. They tried to attack it, but we had no weapons. I remember hearing them call out to me, telling me to run out of the house. I ran as fast as I could, trying to find anyone that could help. By the time I found people and the monster was killed, my entire family was torn apart. He tried giving her a hug, but she wouldn't have any of it. She looked him in the eyes, tears streaming down. I tried. I really tried to get help as fast as possible. It was not your fault. You were only a kid, Han tried to tell her. It may not have been my fault, but now you are telling me that someone had orchestrated this? Someone allowed these creatures to come and ravage everything? Let those monsters to go around and kill children and people? How many babies were eaten by these Varj? She spat out the name of the creatures with disgust. Instead of answering her, he stayed silent. Though there was a reason for why the overflow had to occur, Han didn't know if Ha-Yun would be interested in hearing about it. Listening to the voice explain the situation, Han knew that the overflow was the logical option. But something being logical was sometimes not a reasonable answer for someone who had witnessed the things Ha-Yun had seen. If the overflow never existed, then my parents would still be alive, and I would not have had to... She gritted her teeth. Before saying the last part, it was like there was a flood of emotions coming out of her mouth, and only the strength of her jaw could hold it back. High-pitched noises could be heard escaping between her teeth, sounding as if they would all come bursting out and finish what she started. As Ha-Yun stood there crying, Han looked up at the ceiling and asked, was there a method created to get back onto the created planet? He didn't know if he would get a response, but thought it wouldn't hurt to ask. Yes, a transporter was created as a backup in case certain events took place. Based on calculations made, it would send the user to the designated location. The voice replied to his inquiry. Where is it located? Han asked, looking around at the closed-off room. The voice remained silent, but a door opened off to the side. I guess that answers my question. He rolled his eyes at the voice. Going over to the newly revealed area, Han noticed something which appeared to be a magical circle on top of a metallic platform. Looks like something out of a science fiction novel, he muttered. Tapping towards the platform, he tried to learn what it was. Transportation device. Upon stepping on the device and inserting the required mana amount, the user will be transported to the designated location. The user is cautioned with making sure that the designated location is in line with what is set into the device. Master, this looks to be the device the voice was speaking of, Brittany told him. Yes, it appears to be the case, he agreed with her. Han admitted to himself that he was slightly disappointed by the look of the device. He was expecting something amazing, especially from beings that could create an entire planet. Leaving the area, he walked over to Ha-Yun. Are you okay now? He gently asked her. Yes. I'm sorry for lashing out towards you. Dealing with all of this was a little too much for me, Ha-Yun apologized, as she began wiping away the tears. I think I may have learned of a way to get us out of this place, he told her once she seemed to be ready, pointing back at the room he came out of. Really? She was surprised and happy to hear this. Immediately her face dropped when she realized something. What about the overflow? If we leave this place, we'll be jumping from a semi-dangerous place to a perilous place. We cannot think about that right now. Staying in this place is not an option, considering how we have no supplies, he pointed out to her. But can you not just make more supplies appear? She asked, a little confused. How long could that possibly last? He asked her, insinuating he could run out of mana. It wasn't a direct lie, but he didn't want to reveal the entirety of his abilities. Han was also curious about what was happening on Elotran. From all the stories he had heard, the overflow was a very intense experience. We should probably gather everyone down here, Han suggested to Haiyun, trying to brush aside the topic they were talking about. Though he may be okay with lying to her, he didn't enjoy doing it.